Hey guys, it's Mark and welcome to On My Bookshelf, a series where I'm going to talk about some of my favorite books on my bookshelf. I know during this time, a lot of you have some spare time on your hands, especially those of you with kids at home that you just have tons of extra time that you're not really sure what to do with. So what a better way to spend that time than by reading books. So I thought I'd share a few of my favorite reads, really just a self-indulgent way for me to talk about books. If you know anything about me, I'm a huge book nerd. And also I gotta give credit where credit is due. The idea for this series came from Russell Moore, and I'm just totally ripping it off because I loved it so much and I love books. So the first book that I want to talk to you guys about is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And Cormac McCarthy is one of my favorite authors of all time. He's arguably one of, if not the greatest living American writer. He's written No Country for Old Men, Blood Meridian, All the Pretty Horses, but my favorite book of his is The Road. I read this book in high school, and it's just a book that I keep coming back to again and again. And in case you're not familiar, the story and the setting of this book takes place in America. It's this dystopian, post-apocalyptic world. We're not sure what's happened, but everything is burned. Society and civilization has just fallen apart. There's been some sort of cataclysmic event, and there's just ashes everywhere. When it snows, it snows ash. And like I said, society has sort of fallen apart, and it's gotten so bad, in fact, that people have resorted to cannibalism. And the story really follows a man and his son, a father and son, and we don't even know their names, but they're journeying towards the coast along a road that's incredibly dangerous, and they're just trying to survive one day at a time. So I want to give you guys a picture of what this world is like. This is from the very first page. I'm going to read you a section of it. It says, "When he woke in the woods in the dark and the cold of the night, he'd reach out to touch the child sleeping beside him. Nights dark beyond darkness, and the days more gray, each one than what had gone before, like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. His hand rose and fell softly with each precious breath. He pushed away the plastic tarpaulin and raised himself in the stinking robes and blankets and looked toward the east for any light, but there was none." And later on it says, "With the first gray light he rose and left the boy sleeping and walked out to the road and squatted and studied the country to the south. Barren, silent, godless. He thought the month was October, but he wasn't sure. He hadn't kept a calendar for years. They were moving south. There'd be no surviving winter here. He lowered the glasses and pulled down the cotton mask from his face and wiped his nose on the back of his wrist, and then he glassed the country again. Then he just sat there holding the binoculars and watching the ashen daylight congeal over the land. He knew only that the child was his warrant. He said, if he is not the word of God, God never spoke." So hopefully that gives you an idea of just how incredibly bleak the setting is, but also gives you a taste of how lyrical and poetic and amazing the writing of this book is. That even as dark and as bleak as the setting is, that Cormac McCarthy has a way of making it almost beautiful. And now I know you're probably wondering, it's pretty obvious now that this is a dark book. In fact, when we were dating, I asked my wife to read this book because it meant so much to me, and she read it on a beach trip, and she later hated me for it, not because she didn't like the book, but because it ruined her beach trip. So I know this isn't a beach read. This isn't a super light, fluffy novel or story. There's some really hard stuff in this book, but and I know you might be wondering, why would I want to read a book like that at a time like this, when there's so much fear, anxiety, uncertainty? But I want to put forward this idea that I think this book is actually the perfect read for a time like this. Yes, it does show a lot of human darkness and selfishness and depravity, humanity at its worst. But really the book is all about hope and compassion and love and what it means to care for others in the midst of a really horrible situation. And a theme that keeps coming up throughout the book is this dynamic between the father and the son. And the father, understandably, wants to protect his son and is so distrustful of any stranger they meet and is very reluctant to share any of their resources. But the son is incredibly compassionate and he wants to help anybody they meet. And in fact, there's a part in the book where they come across an old man and the son convinces his father to give them some cans of their vegetables and fruit, which are incredibly rare. And even the old man doesn't understand why they would do that. And the old man says, if I had those things, I wouldn't have given him mine. So this is a conversation between the old man and the father. The old man says, why did he do it? He looked over at the boy and he looked at the old man. You wouldn't understand, the father said. I'm not sure I do. Maybe he believes in God. I don't know what he believes in. He'll get over it. No, he won't. Then all went on. When he looked back, the old man had set out with his cane, tapping away, dwindling slowly on the road behind them like some storybook peddler from an antique time, dark and bent and spider-thin and soon to vanish forever. The boy never looked back at all. So that gives you an idea of, again, this recurring theme throughout the book of compassion and love and grace and hope in the midst of an incredibly dark situation. So I hope that you'll check out this book. I can't recommend it enough. I'm actually rereading it right now for the umpteenth time, and I'm excited to bring you some more recommendations soon. So thanks for watching.